Hey everybody, welcome into Kingdom and Cleats. My name is Ben Compton. I am going to be your host, your curator, your uh, confidant, your guy that's going to be talking faith, family, football, the three F's of the South. This is a podcast that I decided a few months ago that I was ready to start. I feel like I'm a guy who's in my mid 30s in the suburbs of Tampa, and it feels like the right thing to do because that's what you do when you're a guy in your 30s and you don't have a lot of other hobbies that can take you away from the house, so you start a podcast, right? Well, that's what this is. And as I was thinking through what a podcast could be for me and what that an outlet for me to express all the things, I came to the conclusion that I wanted to talk about just my life and give a platform for me to brain dump who I am, the thoughts that are swirling in my head around being a husband, a father, a pastor of a church, but also a guy who really loves football, loves sports in general. And so, yeah, I was like, let me give myself a platform. I know that sounds strange. It does for me anyway. To hop on a video staring at myself, but hopefully this reaches some of you out there where you can hear maybe just something that you want to interact with in some way, whether you're a husband, a father, a mother, a wife who was like, hey, my husband needs to hear this, or maybe you're getting something from this too. As we move through, I have a few things that I want to talk about and get off my chest. And then at the end of every episode, regardless of whatever thing we're going to talk about, I'm going to have a segment called Fat Guy Confessions. So I'm a bigger guy. I'm about 340-ish pounds. I'm on my way to lose some weight. I started this year, 2026, right at 360, and I've gone on a fasting journey, done a few fasts, a few 24-hour fasts, and then I just did a 72-hour fast just a few weeks ago, and it was hard, but I can see the benefits already just in my own personal health. So excited to see what that's going to look like moving forward. But at the end of each episode, I'm going to do a fat guy confession. And so if you want to know what that is, stick around to the end, and I promise you won't be disappointed. You're probably going to laugh. It's a little self-deprecating, and that's comedy for me. So please don't feel offended on my behalf. It's about me, and it's okay. I am a huge comedy fan, so like I love self-deprecating comedy. It's one of my favorite forms of stand-up comedy, but yeah, so here we are. I thought this first episode would be a great opportunity for you to just get to know me, and then for me to just explain who I am, my fandom, and why I am a fan of the things I'm a fan of. So first I want to tell you, so my name is Ben, and I have a wife, Jessie, who I've been married to for 12 years. We've been together for 14. So we dated for a year, engaged for a year, and then we got married in 2013. So we're coming up on that 13-year anniversary, and I love my wife so much. She is the greatest gift. She's the most beautiful, caring, intelligent woman, and God made her for me. And I will never not believe that. I also have 4 children. 3 here on Earth. So we have one daughter that we lost back in 2015, which I'm sure throughout the episodes you'll get to know more about. But her name is Kinley. She passed. She was born at 22 weeks and didn't make it. And then I have, so she's our heavenly daughter. And then we have 2 sons, Zeke and Kai. And then we have she's not a newborn anymore. She's just over a year old, and Anna Lee. And yeah, so I am a man who loves his wife, loves his children, but fails at doing the duties of a husband and father often. But that's okay. That's part of what I want to talk through and brain dump on and hear from you guys in comment sections and all of those fun things. So, yeah, so that's my family. I am also the pastor, or a pastor, not the pastor. Wow, that was really harsh. A pastor, one of the lay elders at Aletheia, Tampa. So if you are in the Tampa Bay area and you are looking for a church who loves Jesus, preaches the Bible, doesn't shy away from the sin of this world, but ultimately pointing us to a Redeemer in Jesus Christ, please look us up. Would love to have you sit with us and just experience the love of Jesus in our church. I'm also the youth guy at our church, so as well as being one of the elders of the church, I also lead our youth ministry. I've been doing that for about 10 or just over 10 years. So that's a crazy feeling, just knowing that we've been doing that for 10 years. And then, so that's kind of my personal life. I also work a full-time job at a large insurance company as a project manager. So nothing too exciting there. It's just insurance, but it's a job that allows me to do what God's called me to do, which is to be a husband, a father, a pastor, and a friend, ultimately. So yeah, with that, I want to shift into kind of the sports side of me. So I am a diehard Georgia Bulldogs fan. Go Dogs. I grew up in, I call it South Georgia, but it's middle South Georgia, in a town called Covington. We're about 45 minutes from Athens, Georgia. So I grew up with the only options really being a Georgia Tech fan or a Georgia fan. And if I'm being honest with you, there was no option of being a Georgia Tech fan. So I grew up a Georgia fan. Have been since the Mark Richt days. So I'm not a bandwagoner. I am not someone who just jumped on because they started winning national championships and all the things. I was there for the darker days, especially the post Matt Stafford days. Those were rough. I love Joe Cox. He was one of the quarterbacks after Matt Stafford, and great dude and all the things, but yeah, and then all of the litany of quarterbacks and wide receivers and running backs and all the things that I'm just a huge Georgia fan, always have been, always will be. Nothing about that will change unless, I don't see that happening. No, there's no way. And then, so that's my collegiate fandom. My pro football team, I am a Raiders fan. And you may be thinking to yourself, how in the world are you a Georgia fan and a Raiders fan? So when they were in Oakland is when my wife and I got married, and then my son Zeke was born in 2017. And my father-in-law is a diehard Notre Dame fan. And so I went to him as a son-in-law and was like, sir, I'm going to need to make a compromise with you. I don't have a pro team. I didn't have a pro team at that time. And if you promise to let my boys be Georgia fans and not try to convert them into being Notre Dame fans, then I will become a Raider fan and I will become a pro football fan and root for the Raiders. And from that point on, he agreed. We shook hands on it. And from that point on, I was a Raiders fan through and through. And again, there's no chance that you're a bandwagoner fan of the Raiders picking up in 2017. We did have some really great years with Derek Carr and Devontae Adams when he was there. But if you're a pro football fan, you know exactly kind of where we've been. I am very excited for this upcoming season in 2026. But so that's my fandom from a football perspective. From a basketball, so I'm not a big basketball guy, but I do watch March Madness, and I've always been a Michigan State fan. I know that sounds really strange, again, being a Georgia fan, Raider fan, but Michigan State, and I'm going to be honest here, in 2011, I think, I was watching March Madness. I had never really watched it at that point. I wasn't, again, not a big basketball guy. And I picked Michigan State because they were doing really well. And so I was like, this seems like a lot of fun, and I could root for these guys. And so I picked Michigan State in 2011, and I've just kind of rode with them since from a college basketball standpoint. And then professional basketball, I am a Indiana Pacers fan. Again, I know I'm all over the map, and I get it, but this is why I'm here to explain to you why I am the way that I am. So whenever I was deciding on my pro basketball fandom, I was to a point where I was like, I don't really care about basketball enough, and I can't root for just basketball because I don't like it that much. But if I pick a team, then I can root for the team. And that's when I decided, I was like, I need to, as a Georgia fan at that time, we weren't winning national championships. We weren't really at the top, but we were kind of in that mid-tier. And I was like, I can't go pick like the Golden State Warriors or the Lakers or Boston or the Celtics. Like, I can't go pick one of those teams that's like at the top. Because if like a sport that I don't care about that much is all of a sudden winning everything, I don't want it. Like, football will always trump anything else for me. And so I picked Indiana because they were kind of in that mid-tier, sometimes really great, sometimes not so good, but a lot of times just right in that middle of the pack. They'll make the playoffs, they'll make an okay run, but they're never quite going to get there. And that's why I picked the Pacers. Again, I know that's terrible logic and not a lot of people will understand that, but that's where I landed. So this is my last of my sports teams that I'm going to talk about is the curling. So curling is my favorite Olympic sport, and I am a huge fan of the two-man U.S. men's curling team. They didn't place this year, but they have been so good in the past. The coach there is great. I won't talk about them a ton, but I need you to know that I am a USA guy through and through. And when they're curling and sliding those stones across the ice, I am chanting USA, USA more than anybody else. So that's who I am as a person. So I'd love to hear from you in the comments, or shoot me a DM or something like that of just, who are your teams? Who are you rooting for? If you tell me that you're a Bama fan, I may kick you out. Kidding. You guys have just been a thorn in my side since I've been alive long enough to see you guys just run college football. So now I want to shift into just a little bit of a story, and this will actually be the title of the first podcast, which is Are You Proud of Me? Dad, are you proud of me? And this is where that story comes from. My son Zeke, I was coaching his flag football team, and his team was not very good. We didn't win a game all season. We only scored a touchdown in a handful of the games. We just didn't have a great season. We had a lot of kids that had never played flag football before, my son included. We had a few kids who were really young. It was a kindergarten through second grade. So we had a kid who had just turned 5. And then my son was one of the older ones who was 8. So we had a big age gap. And so because of that, we just struggled in the games, which is okay. It was learning opportunity. It was great opportunity for Zeke to just play the game that I love. And when we were getting near to the end of the season, Zeke was playing wide receiver most of the time, and he went out for a pass and caught it, and then was almost like surprised that he caught it. And then he took off running, and then he thought somebody had pulled his flag, but they didn't. And so then he kept running, and then he went and scored a touchdown, and it was his first touchdown. And he had had a handful of catches throughout the season, but it was his first touchdown. It was such a cool moment, and I was so pumped on the sideline. I was pumped, right? Like I was over the moon, running up and down the sidelines. As one of his coaches, I had a proud moment. As his dad, I was super proud. And then we're done with the game, and then we get in the car on the ride home, and Zeke goes, "Dad, are you proud of me?" And I was like, "Yeah, bud, of course I'm proud of you." He was like, "Yeah, you were." He goes, "I could hear you yelling on the sideline," and he started talking about all these things about what he saw me do on the sidelines, and I was like, "Yeah, I kind of went a little nuts. I get it. I definitely got a little excited for you." And so then I had that moment in the car, and we were just talking about the game, and then he kind of went quiet. He was eating his snack, and then I started to think about the time when a few years ago he had told us that he had prayed and that he had put his faith in Jesus, and I was proud, of course, and I think I probably cried, but I definitely wasn't as like running up and down the sidelines screaming and hollering and all of the things, right? And so what it got me thinking was, man, am I actually more proud that he scored a touchdown, or am I more proud that like he's having big faith decisions and big faith moments? And the more I thought about that, the more I was thinking like, I want to be more proud of him having those big faith moments. But I think I'm probably, if I'm being honest with myself, that I'm more proud in the moments where he scores touchdowns, or does, like right now he's playing baseball, and when he hits and he gets on base and he does the right things, like I can feel like the pride for him like welling up in me. And I don't know if that's the same for faith, like big faith moments. Like he got baptized last summer, and I got to baptize him in the Atlantic Ocean, and that was such a cool moment. And I think sometimes I try too hard to like not make it a bigger deal, but if I'm being honest, it is the biggest of deals. And if you're listening and you're not religious, or you're not a Christian, and that's okay. I think the point of this is like, we can be proud of our kids in moments when the things that they're doing, like the sports or whatever, is not as big as some of like the other accomplishments in life. And for us in my house, it is definitely those moments where he's exhibiting God's love and this Holy Spirit that dwells within him. Like it's those moments that really should be bringing up pride in me. So then I was thinking about why that is. Why is it that the football moment or the baseball moment, like that gets me more amped and more riled up? And the more I thought about it, I started dissecting like my own brain and my own heart in it. And then I started, where I landed in that, and what I want to share with you is just that I think I landed there in being more proud in those sports moments because it's more quantifiable. It's easier to like, hey, this happened, and so because he did this and he listened to the coaches, then he did the things that he was supposed to do, and then the result happened, and so it's more quantifiable. It's more like A and B equals C, and things like putting your faith in Jesus and being baptized, and like those are some bigger moments. But then there's like these small moments that happen on the week in and week out basis that just aren't the same, and they're not as quantifiable, and they're not as seemingly big, but they're actually huge. Like when he tells us that he did something wrong and he fesses up to it before we even find out about it. Like those types of things are big moments that I want to celebrate, and this is where I'm trying to learn, is learning to celebrate those moments because they matter just as much, if not more. And so I want to be a dad who celebrates those milestones, not just the milestones of scoring touchdowns or hitting home runs or whatever the sport will be next season. I just want to be a dad who cares about their faith, their lives, their emotional well-being, their emotional and mental health. Like, I want to care about those things. Yeah. So that's the episode. So let me get into, I know that was a little heavy, and now I'm about to pivot hard to something funny. So please bear with me. I know if you're deep in an emotional roller coaster right now, that's okay. That's my goal. We were kind of deep, and I want to take us very light and have you laugh at me, and that's okay because I'm going to laugh. So Fat Guy Confessions is something that if you're a fat guy or if you're a bigger guy, you're going to understand where I'm coming from. And you may have even done some of these things, and I would love to hear your fat guy confession in the chat. So when over the years, there's been a lot of different things that I've done that I would call a fat guy thing. And this first example is just something that, again, bigger guys are going to understand. You skinny folks can leave the chat right now if you're not going to understand, but you can laugh at us, and that's okay. I was, this was a few years ago. I had applied to be on Survivor. I'm a huge Survivor fan, been watching it since season 1. And I had decided a few years ago that I wanted to try to get on the show. Well, my wife was like, hey, if you're going to try to get on the show, you need to lose some weight because you're not going to go out there. You're not going to be able to do those things if you don't lose the weight. And so then I was like, okay, well, I have kind of a knee injury, and so I can't, running's hard, dieting is hard because I emotionally eat. It's a whole thing. And I'm trying to break that now. But then I went swimming because it was lighter on my knees, was doing well on my diet, all the things. I had put in the application, and then I got denied. Like, they weren't going to call and interview me or do any of those things. And I got that email on the way home from work, and I stopped and grabbed, I think it was Wendy's. They call it the 4 for $4, the burger, nuggets, fries, and a drink, before I got home, and then I ate dinner. And that's my fat guy confession for episode 1. Don't worry, there are some more, and they get really funny. But please, if you have a fat guy confession, I would love to hear it. And this has been episode 1 of Kingdom and Cleats. Thanks for listening. Have a great week.